Hello and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, JB. I hope we are all doing really well this afternoon. I've already done a stream this morning on basically where we are and a lot of things that the Glazers are doing. So breaking news is that Oli Watkin to Man United is off. Now, this is coming from a couple of sources, or there are various bits of information that are coming out as I'm talking here. So, Jay Percy at The Telegraph has basically reported that Aston Villa have told United that he's not for sale. Have told basically us that Oli Watkins is not for sale. Watkins' interest follows the loan offer for Emi Martinez. But as it stands, the proposed talks are off. The 60 million price tag put on Watkins is on his head is deemed as too expensive, and Aston Villa, as we already said this morning and a couple of shows, that Aston Villa are really difficult to deal with, and as is their case, selling their top striker, even though they want to get rid of the striker, and that's out there that Emery doesn't want him. And considering Arsenal were basically looking at him in the January window, I wonder how we all feel about this. I did say if anything broke, I think is a very significant update on this as well. So Fabrizio, thank you for the like already. So Fabrizio has already been all over this, basically saying that the 60 million price tag Aston Villa have put on Oli Watkins is pretty much too much and out of the realm of what United want to do and want to spend. Now, is this a ploy by Villa to basically force United into doing what they did? And I've got my opinions on that as well. So Danny B, big up pal, big up to you. I hope you're doing really well. I'm not bringing you good tidings, I'm afraid, after our conversation this morning. But we did say this morning that Aston Villa are very difficult to deal with. So as it stands, JP Percy in the Telegraph has basically reported, and this is starting to come in from different accounts as well, that Aston Villa have put a Oli Watkins is not for sale on the table. Now, I for one am pretty adamant that that's probably not the case, but Duran has gone, and Aston Villa obviously need that money in to go and get a striker themselves. So whether or not they get on with Emery, whether Watkins gets on with him, ultimately he's contracted to Villa, and they definitely need a striker. Temison is in the chat as well. Yes, I'd like Watkins or Sesko, Carlos, Barbera, Edison, Emi Martinez. It's better for next season. I love how you get in there with your team. I'm expecting that now, so thank you for putting that in there. I think it was you that mentioned Arakader as well. So that I don't know if we'd even be looking at that if they weren't going out. So then he's 60 as well. Exactly, and this is now the conundrum that, in my opinion, that we face. Now, what's not helped this market is Ekitike coming in for 78 million. Now, when you start to analyse and look at this as we do, as more time as more time goes on, the road is leading to Arakader. Now, I don't know if United I've not heard anything around that at all. If you have, then feel free to let us know, and I can take a look at that. I've not heard anything for that, but tell you what, if that was to come off, that would be fantastic. Now, I think the problem here is the market and the striker market. So Ekitike going for 78 mil. Gyökeres 65, I think it is. Sesko obviously asking for around 60 as well. And when you are looking at the strikers who are not Premier League proven, we were linked a few weeks back. Okay, cool. So that I am right now. Any links I am, especially to that sort of player, I think is really positive. But let's see what we do now. So I think, as I said, Ekitike 78 million, Gyökeres 60, 65. Shesko being touted around 60, 65. These are not Premier League proven strikers. Now, obviously, that word, is a factor that has to come in to this one. So Villa are obviously holding firm on the basis that, if Liverpool are prepared to pay 60, 78 for Ekitike, for a young guy who's got no experience in this league, Watkins with his goals and assists, whether we like it or not, 60 million is the price tag. And as we said, and I'm going to repeat myself, Aston Villa are really, really difficult to deal with. Now, Chelsea as well, just on the side of that, Villa, we were maybe talking about Villa going for Garnacho. I wonder now if that's off of the table. You can't ask for 60 million for Watkins and now say he's not for sale. And I'll get my opinion on that as well. And then not want to pay 60 for a Garnacho. So I think maybe that's that might be off of the table as well. Now Chelsea are still being linked to him. I don't know with Simmons and whatever else that they're going for now, whether or not that is an option for them. So if Garnacho did go, for me, that's a £60 million deal for that. I wouldn't do them any favours. They fleeced us for Mount. So we're in a mess again. We and as we said on here, and we've been saying on here for a little while now, is that we're in trouble. Our concerns. I think. So, Debesis. Sorry again if I've destroyed your name there. What's going on? Some tubers are saying that Watkins imminent. Some saying that Watkins talks have begun. Some saying that Watkins have clapped. Exactly, and it really depends on where you fall. Yesterday, I saw a YouTuber saying, "Shesko, trust me, guarantee he's going to come." What I think is happening here, Chelsea have proper owners. They want exactly. That's what they want. When Nkunku leaves, exactly. That is exactly what they want to do. This has just come out in the last hour. So this has just come out in the last hour. Now Fabrizio has said this as well. So coming from Fabrizio, that the price for him is 60 million. Followed up with Jay Percy from the Telegraph, who used to be pretty good around us, especially when Ten Hag was there. Aston Villa have now informed us that Oli Watkin is not for sale. So I personally can only go, and I'll keep checking now because this is gonna obviously spread like wildfire. Fabrizio has basically come out and said, and also at the same time as Liverpool still in for Isak, so that's a little bit of a kick in the kick in the down below parts. So Fabrizio has come out and basically said that they stuck a 60 million price tag on there, and then when that's followed up with, see what Ornstein's saying, nothing yet. Nothing is yet. So when they're following that up with Aston Villa saying that he's not for sale, you can look at it now you can look at this at two ways. Oli Watkins is for sale. We can go on to Wizard as well. Oli Watkins, is he for sale? Of course he's for sale. Everybody has their price, right? But Aston Villa clearly want 60 million for Premier League proven striker, and I don't think they're going to budge on that price, purely because Ekitike, I think Ekitike is the one that's come into this league and really put the cat amongst the pigeons, on the basis that Liverpool are paying 78 million for a striker who's not proven, who's not really prolific, and it is the Bundesliga. So if they're prepared to pay that, in essence, then Watkins, even though he's not wanted. We know this. So if we on the Garnacho situation, okay, people know that we don't want him and he needs to go. It's well known that Watkins doesn't want to be there. So unless he can force a move, I don't know what's going to go on there. But Aston Villa want 60 million, and what they're doing is they're saying to us, if you want him, 60 million. So we now going to negotiate for 5-6 weeks to pay what Aston Villa want. And I think we need to take our lesson there and move on quickly. So I think this is the ploy from Villa to get the money that they want, but United, I really don't think are prepared to pay that. So as of now, they're not interested in that deal because of the 60 million price tag. So this is where the deal is at. I don't think is imminent at all, unless United are serious and going to go, we don't care, we just need this player in, and they're going to chuck 60 million at Watkins. I would put it out there. Would you be happy 60 million for Watkins? Would you be happy 50 plus 10, 55 plus 10, and 200 grand a week? Because that's what this deal will cost on a 29-year-old striker. It is a push from Villa side. No, it is completely a push from Villa side. Villa want money. Villa want 60 million because they need to go out and buy a striker. And this is the problem now, doing our business less than a month before the Premier League starts, is prices have now increased. Ekitike for me has that's the one for me, that's the yardstick now. And Villa are pushing this because they want their money. They're basically saying, look, we may do a deal 55, 50, but you're not going to get him for 40, 45 million. So Danny B says, no, he's not worth anything over 40. Agreed. 100% agreed. So I think we need to walk away from this deal. Gyökeres, I said we needed to walk away from that deal. If Villa are insistent on this sort of money, then we need to walk away. But I don't know if we can walk away. So Tobias says, figures are Ineos will never sign a 29-year-old of that price. That's exactly what they said, but they also said that they would walk to the right deal and not run to a bad deal. In Burmo, I'm not saying that that's a bad deal. It's slightly overpriced in my opinion, but they absolutely walked at a snail's pace to pay what Brentford wanted them to pay. And as I said before, the market now knows that little Brentford, who you have to walk through someone's house to get through the club, basically schooled this big Premier League powerhouse club. So Aston Villa, no, they're going to do the same. Wizard is cheaper than Watkins, and he's a good sync with Mbeumo. Just need to intercept Newcastle. I don't disagree with that, but there's absolutely, I'm categorically going to put my hat on this one and say that there is no way United are going to go near Brentford this season again. I think they've got PTSD. I've got PTSD over that. Wizard will be impossible to do. I think that with the time frame, I think it'd be absolutely impossible to do that deal. I think Mateta might be the next one that we go on to. Let me see if I can find Mateta's stats actually. I think this is where we're going to go. I think we're going to go. And this is what we now. I think we've got basically a list, and we're going to go through that list of strikers. But again, what's stopping Crystal Palace from asking for 60 million? And this is now going to be the outcome of our poor negotiation. You know, the fact that they know that we got taken for 71 million, well, 65 million plus 6. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad deal as such, but we basically just walked into that deal. So Mateta, let's have a quick look, see where he's at. See where Mateta is if it wants to play ball. Might as well only look at Premier League. So Mateta is, if anyone gets there before me, Brentford humbled United, now they're humbling Newcastle. Exactly. You want these teams' players. They can't afford to give you them on the cheap, and why should they? So Mateta still cycling through. Let's have a quick look. So 37 goals, 37 games, 14 goals, two assists. So a lot of those goals were scored. He's scored against Arsenal, Brighton, Villa, Everton. He scored against us twice, but to be fair, who can score against us? Chelsea, Ipswich, Spurs. So he scores against those kind of teams that are up and around us, but it's not. Those are not Oli Watkins numbers. Those are not numbers that are going to strike fear into people's hearts. Mark Harris, hello mate. Funny that if the Glazers had listened to Ranić, would be challenging for honours right now. Funny old world. Yeah, it is. Ranić was the one that I can't remember who he said to get now, but I know Alvarez was one. I think United may be forced into persisting with the Højlund thing now. I don't see other if they can't get something, maybe we go to a Muani. I don't know. It's so up in the air, and Mateta doesn't ghost against big teams. Watkins is barely visible. Yeah, it seems to me, and this is what we're doing, and this what was my fear, and this is what we said on here. This is what many have been saying is basically we're going to be scrambling around as we always do. Are we then going to get to the end of the window? I think it's quite clear that a striker, if our priority is a striker and we're going to spend weeks doing this, what else is going to happen? What else? What else is going to happen? If we wait to the window, we can't do anything else. I think we were looking at loaning Watkins, Emi Martinez on loan as well. So we're now looking at these loan deals, and clubs are going, no, we want cash for these players. Emi Martinez, they want gone, and they want cash for him. Watkins, they need gone, and they want cash for him. FIFA and Football says Man Utd plus 40 for Isak. I wouldn't disagree with that. That's not something that I'd disagree with. Isak, realistically, Liverpool are in for him now. Isak would want big money. Isak wants 300k a week. So I think Isak again would be a really difficult thing to do. It relies on Newcastle wanting Man Utd as well. What's the issue with Man Utd? What's his problem again? I think the problem with Man Utd for me is that there's not necessarily a problem with him. There's talk of Spurs wanting Man Utd to put him in there. I think ultimately the problem with Man Utd is where does he fit? Does he fit into an Amorim system? Bruno's going to play. Bruno Fernandes is going to play in a position whereby Man Utd should really be playing in that pivot. You've got the two number 10s, Cunha and Mbeumo are going to also play. So that means Fernandes is not going to play as a number 10. Where does Man Utd fit? And that's the question here. Apparently there's a new contract on the table. He's going to sign a new contract. If he does, where does he go? So this is a pivotal season for Man Utd. If we were to sell him, what would we get for him? I don't think he's going to go. I think he'll stay, and then we'll judge that on next season. But the news surrounding him is that Spurs are investigating a deal for Man Utd to go to Spurs. Man Utd is no Paul Scholes. Moving on, FIFA and Football, there is no place for him. and that's it. He's definitely knows goals. There's not many players who are goals, are they really? But Manu, he's so young, he could be anything that he wants to right now. But Amarin doesn't know what to do with him. So are we going to keep Manu? I like him. His first season he was overplayed. He paid for that last season. This is his last season. In my opinion, this should be his last season to prove it. If he doesn't fit in the system and he doesn't play, then potentially we need to hold our hands up and just say, look, he's a fantastic player. He just doesn't fit into an Amarin system, because this is what we're ultimately gonna play. Tensu's in the chat. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Aston Villa bid for Watkins. He's very expensive because of his age. He's 29 years old. This is deployed by Villa. 100%. I think we've already said it in the chat. You smart people in the chat. Sorry, Amarin doesn't know what to do. Full stop. Sorry, Amarin system. Amarin system right now is in tatters. I'm not a fan, as you know. No, I know that, and I've said that, Mark. I whenever I mention him, I always link you to him as well, mate. People like Mark Harris, who are, I think they're well within their rights and their opinions right now. I think that, as we said, and we looked at the fixtures, the first 8 fixtures, I think if you're on Amarin outer, I think that pencil in Liverpool away in October. If the season goes how I think it is based on now, if you can't get a striker, if we start with Haaland up front, mark that Liverpool game away at Anfield, mark that as a potential first Amarin out. By then, I've predicted us to get, I think, 8 points from 8, and at that point he's gone. If his system doesn't work, if he goes to that Leeds back 5 nonsense that he played, that defensive football, that survival football from the second or third game, then he's gone already. Tobias says they are holding on to the price, what we were kind of asking for Bruno. The problem there with Bruno as well is that if we'd have got 120, 130 million, people would have known that, or we had that money. So instantaneously, there'd be tax on it. So would we have really benefited from the Fernandes money? I'm not so sure. I'm not entirely sure that we would have, because a good club, what they would do is they would already buy their players, have a list, as apparently we did in April, have a list, work through that list, get those players in, knowing that Fernandes would be going. So you do that deal quietly underneath the table. You tell Fernandes that he needs to go. Amarin didn't want him to go, and that's the end of the story. I mean, that's it. Looks like we will not get a midfielder. We have to sell Casemiro first. I don't disagree with that. Sesko would be good. I need a Watkins too. A Timu, Cole, and York. Yeah. Yeah. They wouldn't be no York and Cole, would they really? Let's be fair on that. But what the interesting thing is now, and this is Man Utd says we would surely benefit on the pitch without Fernandes. I think you take your pick there. I think a true club who wants to move on, change what they're doing, change the system, they would have sold Fernandes, changed the captain, and completely looked and changed this system. Tulip plays. I hope you're doing really well today. Watkins is old, declining, injury prone, and expensive. No, thank you. I think that's a legitimate opinion in part. Shesko's only 10 mil more, 7 years younger, with more upside. 29 in terms of a striker, depending on the price. We got Van Persie around that age. Obviously, Watkins is no Van Persie. We got him in to win the league. Watkins is possibly a Arsenal. I understand why they went for him, because they wanted a striker to come in and score and get goals, right? So I get that. If we were looking for a striker and looking to push for that and looking to win a league, then I could understand that. 29 is older, but I don't think 29 is old if you know what you're doing with that. We do need a new striker. We do need a striker to get us up the league. I think Watkins at a good price, around about that 40 mil mark, I think would have been perfect. Get him on a 3 or 4 year deal. He'd play until he's in his 30s, 33. Get 4 years out of him, 3 to 4 years out of him. Use him as a backup striker, but it would have to be around that 40 million, 60 million for me. On that, I'd say you're absolutely right. Say he's injury prone. He did play 54 games last year, got 16, 17 goals, provided 14 assists. So you could argue that injury prone bit. I'm not so sure. But again, as he gets older, he is going to get more injuries, particularly his style when he's running down the flanks and runs through the middle. But I think for 40 million, I don't think that will be a bad deal. Sesko's only 10 million more, and that's the problem. Is we don't want to play that for a striker, and that's why Sesko is called as well. That talk about Sesko is absolutely called because we don't want to pay that, and we can't pay that. I don't think in the position that we're in right now. We're scrambling for deals, and we can come back to that as well around a little piece around that. Man Utd says, who told you Amorim didn't want Bruno to leave? It's quite well known, really. It's been reported by Romano, Ornstein. It's been reported all over the shop that Amorim had the final decision and wanted to keep Fernandes. As much as Fernandes didn't want to go to Saudi, if he'd been told to go, then he would have gone. So Amorim's going to live or die on that, as far as I'm concerned. Fernandes is going to get my support as any player will do, but he's going to live or die on that decision. Giles says Isak's handed in a transfer request and Liverpool wants to buy him even after signing Ekitike. Exactly, that's how proper clubs do business. Isak at Liverpool, if they get in the conversation that we had this morning about who do we think is going to win the league, you get Isak and Liverpool have just won the league and they've just settled themselves for the next 5 years. So that's our real clubs. And this is the funny thing, that we're being linked to Sesko. We can't afford that deal. We're being linked to Watkins at 60. We can't afford that deal. Liverpool are going to basically spend the best part of 200 million on strikers. And Isak is there today, and we're scrambling around looking for the dregs. Man Utd, they do. Liverpool do want to deal. They want to dominate for 10 years. Debisis says high press is the key. 3-4-3, but with that invisible of a midfield, it could be a disaster season again. No matter which striker we sign. I heard Spurs are trying to sign. Yep, Joel, that's 100%. Yep. That's up there. Joe, I would swap Amorim for Thomas Frank. While Ekitike and Isak, we are not bearing with them, not for another 3-4 years. Yo, did you hear that from Rich? I make sports edits on my channel. I said, Tulip Players, I make sports edits on my channel. All one word. On YouTube, we'll start making football edits from August. Tulip Plays, you're welcome on this channel, buddy. I'm more than happy to shout out your channel. So, feel free to stick your link in the old chat, my friend. And more than happy for you to get that on here. Joel says about menu. Nope, I will see if I can find the post again. Any player you want an edit for. I think I would leave that one to the chat. Really, I think the chat should have that one. Pick a player. I mean, edits. I don't know how many edits you can do to make our players look good. I think you might have to wait until the start of the season for that one. So, and I didn't even have time to make notes on all this either. So this I literally saw it and decided to come on here and have a little bit of a whinge about it. So this is the position. This is the position that we find ourselves in. I'm not in mod, so I can't post a link feel free to subscribe to that. Cool. I will do that, my friend. I'll happy if you come on here a little bit more often. I'll happily make you a mod. So feel that's an incentive to come back on here. So if you do, then I'll happily make you a mod. The more mods as we get bigger, the better. So I'll be happy to do that for those of you who want to do that. Again, I'm just literally trying to keep abreast of all the news, just trying to see if there's anything out there breaking as we speak. So Josh, says interesting stuff. Luis did not show up for training today with Juventus. We've been linked with this guy all summer. Yeah, I think we might have mentioned that this morning actually. So Luis, yeah, not turning up this morning for training. So again, that is an interesting point. If we're not going to get a striker, as painful as this is, okay, if we're not going to get a striker, we need to move on. We need players in. I don't want us to, like, it's sickening, right? Right now, it is sickening to know that Liverpool are, and I'm not complaining. This is not a moan. This is what a good club does. They are, when we're talking about Oli Watkin is now not for sale, and they're going for Isak. Words fail me, and this is what I wanted to sort of bring this back to, right, is spin. And what we said on here a couple of days ago is be careful of the spin. Ornstein's little podcast, and this is not a dig at Ornstein, you know, he's far superior than I. He's you know, he's got millions on his X and whatever else he does. He obviously has got into the club, right, but he's still a mouthpiece for the club. His podcast, and other, he was saying that United are doing a good job. So his words, not word for word, but pretty much what he said. He said that basically United are doing a good job compared to some others around them. They're doing good business, and you know they're going to be doing some good stuff and whatever else. It's just spin. It's just Ornstein. When what annoys me. But I get it. When you sell your soul, and I'm going to keep saying this, when you sell your soul to the Glazers and Ineos, and you sell your soul to the devil, you've got to eventually pay the price. And Ornstein's price is being a mouthpiece for the Glazers. And we have to be careful. And Graham Bailey, yeah, it's because of the contract he refuses to sign. And this, Joel making a good point. Again, there are... This is what I mean about spin, okay? The deflection now. Mainu's come out that Mainu's not going to sign this contract that's been there for ages. From the Mainu side, there doesn't appear to be any reticence. He wants to sign the contract. He doesn't want to leave. But lo and behold, United have put it out there. Clearly have put it out there now that he wants to go to Spurs. That are they trying to unsettle the player? This is all a shield. What Ineos do and the Glazers do is when they know they're up against it, and they know the fan base knows how rubbish they are because we're getting better at this. They throw shields. They throw as much stuff in front of themselves so they can shoo themselves away from it. And this is what I was saying, is that be careful of the spins. The Ornstein spin that's come out. The Romano, a little bit of spin saying that we've had it internal talks. And I want to bring this back to what we were saying on here a little while back, was be careful of spin. Ultimately, what were we told at the beginning of the window? Can we afford a striker? We may not do a lot of business. Ornstein put it out there as well. Romano did. That we may shift this over to the January window. If we don't get all of our targets now, we'll use the next window. A window that we never use. We never use this window. So what we're now starting to see is, because we can't do the business, is it because we literally are skint and we're not getting money in for these players? So we're now starting to see this spin that Watkins is unavailable. Also, it's not our fault. We've been linked to these lesser midfield players. We're going for loans for players. Let's go back to the chat. Giles says we should offer Newcastle 80 million. Garnacho, Sancho, Rasmus, Malacia, and Casemiro for Isak, but he won't come to us. I like that idea. Newcastle are not that thick, and Isak doesn't want to come to us, does he? Really? Let's be fair. I mean, I'd offer him pretty much the whole of our squad, as you've just said there. But he's not going to come, is he? You know, I like that idea. Now, there's less chance he might want to come to the Champions League. Yeah, I don't know where we go next, and this is the problem now. Tensi says we should offer many for a midfielder like Kleberson, Guerra, or Balba. Guerra, I think, is a realistic chance. I do, but I keep saying that. I keep saying, oh, I think it's a realistic chance. If the Guerra stuff is true, Dean says Xerxes is about to explode. Why? Has he eaten something? Has he got a bomb strapped to his chest? It's not funny, I know. Xerxes again is one of those ones whereby I hold judgment on Xerxes because I think Xerxes got a load of potential, but he's not a striker. Unless another fear of mine is Amarin going to try and fit square pegs into round holes? Is he going to try to make Xerxes a striker? You know, he's not a striker, but is he going to, because we can't get a striker? What's he going to do with these front three positions? If Xerxes is going to be the striker option, when Isak's been signed, Ekatiké's been signed, and what we're going to do is keep Rasmus potentially and turn Xerxes into a striker. That tells you everything that you need to know, really, doesn't it? Edu says, welcome, Edu. Isak, I wish he would come to United. Let's try. We never can tell. I'd love to try, mate. I'd love to try, but then if we do try, are we then going to be accused that we've made another bid for a player that's never going to come? I think that Liverpool are too far advanced. They are. The moment this comes out, they're going to do that deal. So Isak for me is already gone. Tulip says Xerxes will play left 10 back up for Cunha. Yeah, I don't disagree, but again, we'll see. We'll see, won't we? We'll see. Sunday, I'm going to do a watch along on Sunday, so please feel free to join me on that one. It's going to be a late one though. It's going to be midnight, but I'm going to jump on and I want to see what goes on with that one. Xerxes for me right now is a question mark. I don't know. I can't say. I can guess. My guess would be he's going to be striker. My guess would be he's going to be backup striker, backup number 10. Amarin likes versatile players in his system, and Xerxes is one of those players that I think he'll like. He can play in that number 9 role. He's not a number 9, but number 10, backup number 10. I think that's where that's where he's going to go with that one. Deshaun says no, he got Cunha in Burmo. Bruno, he got better service coming. Again, we're going to see, aren't we? I'm loving the positivity, by the way. In what I love about this chat, and this is what we need to be doing as well, is sometimes I can be quite a miserable git. I don't mean to be, but the realism, from what I can see, from watching this game for 38 years, watching this club, is all we've got is optimism. All we've got is optimism and hope. Chilip says we have lack of pace with Rashford and Garner gone, so Shesko would be perfect up top for now and the future. Again, Shesko for me was the one on for a number of reasons. I think that age, profile, pace, both good feet. He's young. Worst case scenario, you spend 65 plus 10 on him, 65 plus 5. You potentially could get your money back. I mean, of the best of the rest, if we're going to get this best in class, as we always say, best in class, he's not the best in class, but he's the best of the rest. And every other club making a statement striker signing, and we're scrambling around for Oli Watkins and discussing Xerxes up front. I think it's all pretty sad. Liverpool could spend 300 to 400 million this summer. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Pencil in October. That's all I'm saying. If you think 7-0 was bad, pencil in that date. See if I can find the trans. See if I can find the fixtures. Let's have a look. Man United fixtures. Man United fixtures 2025. 2025. Where are we? See more matches. So, where are we? So, we play Liverpool away at Anfield on the 18th of October. Now, that's kind of that, for me, that's that prime sort of, if you lose those first, or you do badly in those first 6-7 games, then that, for me, is that. I almost think the Premier League do it on purpose, right? Is that when they want a manager to be sacked, I think this is basically what they do, right? They stick it in there as a taunt for the manager to be sacked. So I think if we are not getting a striker, then I'll worry. Yeah, it's the player that will never say I want United. Yet Tenchi says Isak is the Premier League experienced player, but a very expensive one too. I think Liverpool. I think he's gone to Liverpool. I'm not gonna pretend. I think he's gone to Liverpool. I think that's where he's gone already. Liverpool, whenever noises come out, they just go and do the deal. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a here we go this afternoon or tomorrow. So Isak for me is a good example of a club taking a risk on a player from a different league that ends up being good. And Shesko could be that player for us, our Isak, but we're not prepared to do that deal. Chilip Play says he's got springs for legs, aerial threat. That is Shesko. Has that prime Ronaldo jump. We will be better this season. The players understand the system, and now we are getting rid of the bad eggs. Tulip Plays. I didn't see that against Leeds. I've got to be honest with you. I didn't see that against Leeds. I don't know if you watched the Leeds game. And again, I'm happy to concede that that was a pre-season game. And, I take that into account. We can only really start to judge them with these next couple of games because we've only got 4 games. I can tell you the games that we've got. To tell you the games that we've got, if I can find it. Here we go. At least Sky Sports is good for something. So, these are our games, okay? So, we've got West Ham. We've got Bournemouth. And we've got Everton. So, that's our pre-season tour. Then, 6 days later, we've got Fiorentina. And then 8 days after that, we've got Arsenal. What we really need to be saying, and again, this is not calling you up, this is your opinion, and I really hope that we are right. Early preseason games are for fitness, I get that. But we have to see a system. We've got 4 games to see a system. And yes, it is for preseason, for fitness, but we have to see a pattern of play. We can't. We have to see a pattern of play. If we don't see a pattern of play by Everton, then I don't know what we're going to do. What's he going to do between Fiorentina? So we've got a game then roughly So we've got a game on the 3rd of August, got a game on the 9th of August, and then Arsenal on the 17th. If we're not seeing patterns of play by Everton, how do we fix that in 2 weeks? And this is the unknown for me. These pre-season games, okay, against Leeds, they're back. They've had a couple of weeks now to build into the system, but none of them could do the system last season. And it wasn't like they didn't have months and months, and I know they didn't have like weeks between seasons as such. But I didn't see any improvement at all last season. I didn't see any improvement against Leeds. So yeah, I agree pre-season is about fitness. We didn't look as fit as Leeds. I didn't see any patterns of play at all against Leeds. We need to start seeing these patterns of play, because if what we're now saying is we're going to have to basically do with some of these players and they're going to stay whether we like it or not, we need to see these, more than anything else, we need to see Aaron's system in place in these next 3 games. If we get to I'm going to say Everton. If we don't get to that game and we're not seeing patterns of play, then they've not bought his system, have they? And this is just my opinion on it. Is we're not going to have a striker in by the first game of the season. So I'm speechless. I don't really know what to say on that. So Chip says I would judge them on the final preseason games. Yeah, and this is where I'm at as well, right? You know, I want to start seeing something in the next game, but it's those Everton. It's that game for me where I need to see something. Bobby, hello again. Hi, Bobby, legend of the chat, as many of you are now. The basis says Shescu's situation is more of a we dodged a bullet and we should have signed in bigger risk, bigger rewards. I'm loving all these different opinions, by the way. I think this is what we should be doing as a fan base, right? Or we're coming on here, we're discussing, we're respecting each other's views. We all have our different views. Obviously, I have the mouthpiece, so you know I'm saying my views. I am right now saying that I've got an opinion on it, and if my opinion is wrong, then it means we're doing good stuff, right? So I am more than happy for you guys to come on first game of the season, we spank Arsenal, and you go, see, I told you so, right? Then it means I'm wrong, and I have to be pragmatic, right? Because it protects my mental health. If it's almost like, if you want something really badly, if you want something super, super badly, but you dare to dream, but you're trying to almost shield yourself from that pain of getting pummeled, that's kind of what really is happening to me right now, is that I don't want to believe in these players. I will believe in them because this is what happens every single season, is that I then don't believe in them and then they break my heart with that's a bit extreme, obviously, but they literally impact me, and I'm just, sometimes I don't even want to look at the score. You know, the amount of games I watched, and the amount of games I watched, and you just see the same repeat patterns. You know, they didn't listen to the coach. So my overall thing this year is why are they going to listen to the coach this year that they didn't last year? Rashford wasn't in the squad. Garnacho was, but you know, he was kind of towing the party line a bit. Sancho wasn't in the squad. Malacia wasn't here. Anthony wasn't here. They weren't in and around the squad, but yet the squad didn't listen. So for me, what's going to change? What can Amarin do that he didn't do last season? And we know what's going to happen Whether you're hammering out, a la Mark Harris, whether you're hammering in, whether you're hammering on the fence like I am, I'm hammering on the fence, leaning to the side of I don't want to get rid of him because the alternatives are terrifying. I do wonder if Southgate is waiting in the wings. I don't even want to think about that. It sends shivers down my spine. Mark Harris, these guys are on top dollar. No player has come out and said I played with crap. I would donate half my wages to charity. Football harsh game. Don't perform P45. Where's the incentive? And I think you said it in your way that you do, but I don't disagree with that, mate. I can't disagree with that. How can you? And I'm just looking to see what else is there. I wonder. Isak, understand, remains a target. Yeah, he's opened the door. Gyökeres basically just signed for Arsenal as well, like officially just signed the deal. So Gyökeres, Isak. There is no incentive for these players. You know, you take the likes of an Anthony who was on what 50k, and you stick him on 200k, stick him on 200k plus. You know, where's the incentive for these players? No, they finished 15th, right? So they've got to take a pay cut because they're not in Europe. But other than that, where's the incentive for them to play well? And I get the hammering and I get the club. You only want players that want to come to this club to play. We are scratching the barrel. We're basically starting again. And whilst Liverpool's are going for Ekitike, people forget Vert signed for 110 million, was it? You know, Ekitike, Isak, are they Liverpool fans? No, 100% not. I mean, of course they're not. They want to play for the champions. They're not Liverpool fans. They're not. They don't know their history. They might be kissing a badge, but they don't care about the club. But they're winners and they want to win things. And we're looking for badge kissers. You know, we're looking for players who want to come and play for this club instead of people who want to take a risk and come and play to win things. We're not signing winners because winners don't want to come here because we're not winning anything. Mike Harris said Liverpool shopping at Harrods and we're at Harrods. We're at the skips behind the Lidl. Yeah, we're doing like a dumpster raid, aren't we? It's like those people that at the end of the day they go through the dumpsters and like they're dumpster hunting. That's pretty much what we're doing, you know. As it appears right now, Watkins is off the table. Shesko is off the table because of the price. Where do we go? Where's our scouting to go? Right, okay, we can't get these players. Where's a South American like gamble? Where's a Belgian league gamble? You know, where's a French league gamble? You know, even to the point when people are talking about bringing a certain Marseille player back, and I'm like, you know, it would just be wrong. Just looking on that one as well. Yeah. So as it stands, Watkins appears to be off the table. Aston Villa have said that he's not for sale. I don't believe that, and none of us do. It's their way of saying, look, 60 million or he's not going. Villa can't afford not to sell him. We've offered a loan for Emi Martinez. I think we've offered a loan for Watkins as well. On to the next one. Really, you could probably buy half of Cameroon's team for 200 million. Do it, and then they'd all go to the AFCON. But then we'd have to play the youth, right? So right now, I don't know where we're going. As I said before, be careful of the spin. It's already come out that we may not get all of our targets in this window. Why not, is my question. And we may use the January window to do business. What a load of nonsense. And this is just in case they're lining up the fans. Why do you think they are deflecting with this noise about £4,000 for a license? As much as us fans will moan and complain about it, it's so audacious, it's so cheeky, that what was my video about this morning? The first thing I was talking about, and I fell into the trap, but it's the correct thing to do, is I'm not talking about the team. I'm not talking about football. I'm talking about them putting 4K on a seat before a season ticket, because they're deflecting. Any news now that they can deflect from what we're doing and what we're failing at, that is what we'll do, because we're now talking about something different. Whereas now, obviously, that's dissipated, because that has, and now we're focusing back on the striker situation. So don't be surprised this afternoon if something else comes out. If we're deflecting on something else, we are deflecting that Kobe now wants to go to Spurs. We're deflecting on that because we're all talking about that, and we'll get angry, and they want us to start arguing amongst ourselves, and they want us to start doing that, deflecting everything away. You know, you're not seeing Ornstein coming out and saying, Watkins is not for sale anymore. Ornstein hasn't reported that yet, I don't think, because United don't really want that out there. You know, the other outlets are, but United don't really want to put that out there just yet, because if they do, the fan base is going to be up in arms. So there's no coincidence that this £4,000 license thing has come out today. It's no coincidence that this Kobe thing has come out as well, because they're trying to deflect. They're trying to buy themselves time. And we all know what they're going to... And Mark Harris says, all these spin stories detract from a clueless manager. Time will tell. But yes, exactly. They are detracting from... And you watch, if we lose the first pre-season tour game, there'll be some more positive spin. So Joel says, Man United could pivot to the loan market. If no outgoings happen, Mitrovic could be a cheaper option. If Halal want to part ways with him, I really like this move. Oh, Joel, this is where we're going to disagree on this one, mate. I respect your opinion. I really do, mate. But for me, Mitrovic is an absolute no. If Mitrovic, I get why Mitrovic would appeal, but is he not just another Igalo? Is he not just another what's his name? I try to forget him now. The Dutch striker, Weghorst. Is he just not another one of those players we're just going to make do because we can't sign players? And this is what I mean. This is typical. This is exactly what we do. This is exactly every single season. Mitrovic for me is a no, but I get why there is an opinion out there on that. As you say, he is a bully. He does know how to put the ball in the back of the net, but is that where we are? My overall thing here is that where we are as a club? Is that now where we are? Is we are now so low that we gonna get a Mitrovic. That for me is not when you got to look at the things that we're saying, right? We're saying we want best in class. So we're saying we want best in class players. we want to win the league by 2028. We want to do X, Y, and Z. And this is going off because we need to hold them accountable. We need to hold Ineos and the Glazers accountable. There can be no excuses, in my opinion. Mitrovic just sums up where we are. And you've explained your reasons, and I totally respect the reasons. I get it. I really do. But for me, when Arsenal was signing a striker, Gyökeres, when Liverpool were going after Ekitike and Isak, City have got what they've got. Where's the class of 2025? Why bother having an academy if the manager's scared and burns them Groundhog Day every day? And I think this is the reality coming home now, isn't it? For me, it would be a loan for a striker who would destroy defences by being physically strong. If that was to happen, I'd rather him on a loan than Calvert-Lewin or Avardi. So we need to see how that one would. If that does happen, then that'd be an interesting one. It's a no from me. I just if we go down that road, then for me, the Glazers want to turn us into a mid-table team. In my opinion, they want us to finish comfortably 6, 7, 8, get into those Europa League spots, maybe a Champions League like here and there, but all they want us to do is coast, spend as little money as possible until the stadium is up and running, and then make as much money as they possibly can. And that's what it would represent for me. Mitrovic is he'd do a job, right? But it's what it represents more than anything else. We apparently want best in class. We want X, Y, and Z, but it's not happening, is it? And this is the sad thing for me. So we're potentially going to pivot from Shesko. We're now going to pivot from Watkins, and Mitrovic is now what we're going to pivot to potentially. Joe says it will be. Mark Harris says lower mid-table with a good chance of relegation. I think we've just signed 2 players that I think will stop that from happening. We are mid-table. I think we are lower to mid-table. I do think that Mbeumo and Cunha make us better. I do think that stops us from going down. I just don't know what this Watkins thing means for us. So if you're not going to go for that, don't forget we need a goalkeeper, centre midfielder, and whilst we're messing around with the striker situation as we always do, we are negating other positions, and that's where we are. So I'm going to leave it there because I just think that we're just going to depress ourselves. I think. So if anything else does break, it normally does when I was just about to go out or just about to go for a run. These things happen. I'm sorry it's not more positive news right now. Again, this chat makes me happy. I love the positivity in the chat. I love the different names in the chat, as in the players that you suggest. I love the positivity in the chat. I love the realism in the chat. It all sparks debate. But don't let United tear us apart. This is what they want to do. They want to cause arguments. They want to chuck us off the scent. They want to spin us. But as long as we are aware, I believe, you may think that the Glazers and Sir Jim are doing an amazing job. It's not for me, but we'll see where we are. So hopefully this coming week, what the rest of the week beholds, I can see more spin coming. I'm trying not to bite on it all because I could make videos upon videos per day in it, but I'm going to end up regurgitating the same stuff. But let's see if anything develops throughout the day. I think Isak will go to realism is a sign of higher intelligence, unlike Mr. Goldfish. I appreciate that. I think we've got to be real on here. We can't kind of buy into it and keep changing our mind. I'm not going to flip flop and change my mind and stuff. I have my views, but if we sign a player, for example, if Mitrovic was to sign and he bangs in 15 goals, happy to say I was wrong. I will still not think it's the right signing for what we should be doing, but I can appreciate that opinion and I can appreciate what the player will ultimately do and bring. So anything else does break, guys, and I'll come back on and let you guys know, and we can obviously talk about it in the way that we do. I'm always going to say this, is that we've got the best community so far. We're building up our little community base. You're all welcome here with your opinions. As you know, it's really important that you guys are here, put in your two penneth worth. I think we definitely spark debate. And as I would say, what it really means a lot to me, giving me your time. Mark, I know you're up late, buddy, and I appreciate you being here, mate. It's really, as I appreciate you all from wherever you all are. Again, such a mixture of community here, and every single chat and all interactions, mate, they mean so much to me. So I can only thank you, and you make this what it is. So I'm going to go. Have a good rest of your day. Mark Harris, go for a sleep. I don't know how you do what you do, and I will be back if anything else does break. I don't want it to because it's all sad right now, but yeah. So enjoy the rest of your night, day, morning, wherever you are, and I will see you. Oh, before I go, Joel says, have you seen how many goals Mitrovic has put behind keepers? For a few seasons, he had the Gyökeres numbers in the Championship, 40 for Fulham, Al Hilal 28 this season, and has about 7 assists. Pleasure to be here as always, guys. Thank you so much. Joel, I'm going to give you that last opinion, buddy. Mitrovic is an interesting one. I know his numbers are good. I do know his numbers are good. I absolutely know his numbers are good. Let's see, shall we? I'm prepared, Joel, to be moved. I know you're very intelligent with your comments and your players and your stats. So I am. Let's see, shall we? Let's see what happens with that one. Buddy, my spirit, big up to yourself. Watching from Southern Africa. Thank you so much for tuning in. As I say, this community is getting bigger and bigger. I just want to grow it as much as we can. Let's get out there. We're based on real opinions, different opinions. I love that. Watching now from all over the world, which is immense. Unbelievable, I think, what we're building here. And now, if we get into the season and we start building and building, I mean, we are we're going to take over. This is what I want us to do. We're going to catch up, and we're going to take over YouTube with this channel, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you for watching. As always, guys, I will be back if anything breaks. If I close this down and something breaks, I'll jump back on as soon as I can. So have a good rest of your evening. Mark Harris, go and get some sleep. Everyone else in the chat, Mark, Joel, Body Mind, Bobby, as always, Legend, Tulip, Debasis, Deshaun, Edu, Tensu. I don't want to miss anybody out. Manatutu. Anyone else I missed? Danny B. Can't miss Danny B out. Yeah. And Temishkin as well. So thank you all for being here. Just a pleasure. Pleasure literally is all mine. And of course, I will see you on the next one. Take care.